Good morning, everyone. Can I ask you to turn left and introduce yourself to your neighbor? Okay, that's enough. Thank you. I know you're going to be good friends, but this is just a demonstration of some of the things that AI cannot do yet. But what we do know is that investment in AI has exploded in recent years. When you look at Microsoft market cap, I think, has grown around $1 trillion this year on the back of OpenAI. So we're not talking about billions, we're talking about trillions. Venture capital firms have poured billions into burgeoning sectors, recognizing the transformative power of the technology. My name is Maria Halaz, and I'm the CEO of Stride Equity, and we are a venture-backed digital investment platform. We see AI startups day in, day out, and what they mostly do is they present tools, and these assist with business efficiencies and agents that can do everything, pretty much from organizing your digital marketing to talking to your customers. Unlike tools and agents, the focus for venture capital has been to invest primarily in the foundational technologies, and we've seen that with the big companies and where they're putting their money. We've seen significant investments in areas such as natural language processing, chip manufacturing, and of course, computer vision. But not just VC embraces investment in AI, but also corporates. What they invest in are more around strategies to improve efficiencies, improve revenue, improve profitability. We also invest in AI at Stride Equity. And whilst I had a personal assistant for 20 years today, I've got Lucy. Lucy answers my phone, takes a message, and even books my appointments on my Google Calendar. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who's using AI-assisted personal assistants to manage their business. I also would like to take credit for this bit of a preamble, but actually it was written by Google Gemini with a little bit of help with humans, because obviously none of these tools are perfect yet. So with this few words of introduction, I would now like to introduce our panel. We've got a fantastic panel, and I'm going to start with Matt Simons, who is the CEO of Solution Energy. And the reason I start with Matt is because Matt is bringing history of AI. He was part of one of the first exits of successful AI investment. So Matt, would you mind telling us a few words about what happened there and what was the company, and perhaps even put it in a context of what happened since?
Sure. Yeah, this was I guess what we'd now call a vertical AI business. The idea originally was that I had a business that had a financial services and a credit license, and I observed that...
Matt, would you mind putting your phone?
Oh, sure, yeah. I observed that I was telling my team, guys, we can't carpet bomb the customers with the same message. Everyone should have their own message. There's this digital marketing nirvana idea about like personalization. Of course, my poor N=1 compliance person is like, Matt, we have obligations under these licenses. This is never going to work. And it occurred to me that this would be a great application for a automated system. In those days, there was no large language models. There was just something called NLP, natural language processing. And so we built the platform that was called Red Marker that we ultimately sold, as you mentioned. We built that platform on the premise that you wouldn't replace the human compliance experts. You would rather help them save time. You would be a productivity win. And I think that's become an interesting theme as we look to the successful examples of collaboration between humans and AI systems in functional workflow tasks. It seems obvious that what's become clear is there are some rare examples of the sort of mythical game-changing AI that replaces the human. I think the far more investable and obvious cases are ones where the AI complements the human. And in this case, one thing that most compliance teams were struggling with is how do you surveil this very large growing area of like digital channels? It was just too much to look at. And so you could use tools to identify risk probabilistically, not perfectly, not as good as an expert, but you could complement the human and then bring back examples for them to review, and then treat the review function as a training data loop that then helped improve the system. So that was what we built at RedMarker.
And for context, that was 2017, so 7 years ago. And the world has changed since, of course. One of the things that we do talk about when we talk about AI investments is, the language models, natural language models, then tools and agents. But nobody seemed to be talking about how are we going to support these data centers that are required with energy. And of course, Solution Energy was formed around that. Tell us a little bit about Solution Energy.
Well, I think very, very talented investors and talented entrepreneurs would go and focus on the first order problem, and that is build a better language model. That's a bit above my pay grade. So I have to think about, well, what would a more average lower level IQ person do? They would probably think about, well, second and third order effects, like we're going to need more power because AI is a voracious consumer of electricity. When people think about data centers, we often think about, well, let's just extrapolate, from the data centers we have today to the ones we need to do AI model training. And that's a little bit of a misnomer, because not only are the AI model training data centers multiples, larger than a traditional data center, they also operate at very high capacity factor. They're running almost 95% of the time. And so these data centers are chocked with very expensive GPUs that the CFO of a large corporation paid a lot of money for. They want the data center to run all the time. And the problem, of course, with big data centers that run all the time is they burn a lot of electricity. Now, these same organizations want to have renewable energy. Everyone wants to be doing the right thing from a sort of ESG net zero perspective. And so you find these large organizations that want to win in model training, and yet they want to use renewable energy. And the truth is, intermittent renewable energy, even with firming, sort of battery backup, etc., doesn't match the load profile. So we need to find a new option, and that's what we're doing at Solution Energy.
Thanks, Matt. I want to switch up a little bit and talk with Steve about his view of where Matt started in 2017 and where we are with AI and investments in AI has changed, and what should we invest in? What is the landscape going to look like? And what are the companies that are going to succeed, and what are the companies that might not?
So as a founder building a business, I think one of the hard part is always setting your own direction, how you utilize these kinds of tools. Sometimes it's out of necessity, sometimes it's out of, just sort of motivation to adopt what's coming forward. From an AI perspective, you could almost call it sort of binary. It's either adapt or die. And the reason is because it's, I think Tim said it really well in his sort of opening talk, where the previous businesses were focused on the building of sort of human resources and sort of capital intensive resources, whereas the future is driven by sort of data and AI. That makes logical sense to me. So then you start to think, well, then how does that change the way you invest into your own company? And if you notice, for the last 18 months, all the big tech companies have actually put out announcements saying that, hey, basically they've made people redundant, and at the same time they've been reinvesting into AI solutions themselves. Now, I know it's not popular when people, sort of AI experts will talk about, hey, invest into AI, but everyone's job is safe. The reality is that goes against everything that we're seeing now. So I think from an investor's perspective, the question has to be is not just how companies are, what company is doing from an AI front, but I think it's also worthwhile to ask the questions that Tim mentioned as far as what does that signal to noise ratio look like from a customer to the company. But then the second part is, what is the technology stack that the actual company is working with, and then how are their team actually using it? Because the more we utilize AI across our businesses, the more productivity we can create, product opportunities, efficiencies, etc.
So do you think it's going to be necessarily the case, though, that we create more opportunities and more efficiency with AI? I mean, you see a lot of companies within your business in Wholesale Investors, both listed and unlisted. A lot of the companies have gone through really difficult times on the market. And since AI became the it thing to invest in, a lot of the companies are putting badges on their companies, logos saying, now we are an AI company. What is real and what is really window dressing? And how should investors look at these companies and really say, okay, well, is this company is really window dressing by putting AI behind everything, or is this real? What are you seeing on the market?
Yeah, definitely we're seeing a lot of the window dressing part, but I don't think it's in so much of a negative way in that, companies are actually trying to overlay AI into their businesses because they understand there's a business opportunity and a case that comes along with that. And likewise, it's been these last 2 years, to put into context, have been two of the hardest years from a fundraising perspective that I think the market has seen in the 15 years that I've been running WI. And as founders, you'll utilize whatever levers you have to assist in a capital raising process. So AI comes across as one of those. But as far as true AI sort of in Australia, they're really, I haven't seen too many companies where they are sort of AI research driven companies that are actually building products. It's it's basically an overlay of AI over existing businesses.
Thanks, Steve. And of course, we've got Brent here who runs LBT Innovations. And you guys started a long time ago on machine learning, and your entire technology, diagnostic technology, is built on doing things better by using machine learning as opposed to just humans. So tell us a little bit about your LBT Innovations first, so we can put it in a context for the audience who doesn't know what your company is about. But also, then, if you could address the machine learning and then perhaps how it develops into AI and what the difference is.
Yeah, so I think, kind of in the context of being a clinical diagnostic device versus kind of a general AI product, I'd be the first to say that kind of segment's a bit of a laggard segment. And I'll get to the point in a moment. It takes a slightly different view as Steve perhaps is I actually think you've still got these macro trends of not having enough GPs, not having, we're in the space of microbiology. At any one time, 10% of microbiology jobs are vacant in the US. You've got rising wages. So I think in the highly skilled area, when you think about healthcare, when you think about life sciences, I think AI has a slightly different role to play. And so back to the question around efficiency and how do we kind of translate that into value for our customers, I think you've got a regulatory hurdle to get over. You've got this barrier of entry, which can be really good once you're in that space, but that pathway to get there is kind of pretty long. So from an investment thesis, which is kind of the theme of this conference, is it's not for everybody. This is not typically an overnight 1 to 2, 3 year scaling this business with huge numbers. It's just not going to be the case. It's going to be tens of millions of dollars. It's going to be many years of development. But once you go through that process, the kind of opportunity at the end, you have got high barriers to entry, and you're really delivering value for an ecosystem within that healthcare kind of context. So, I think some different challenges when you think about kind of that healthcare sector. So what we do at LBT Innovations is that we automate culture plate reading. Kind of go back to your science days and looking at petri dishes. Well, that's used in microbiology for a whole bunch of different disciplines. And so rather than having scientists taking a lid off a plate, looking at it, counting colonies, we've got an AI-based platform that does that automatically. So it does it more efficiently, more accurately, and obviously reduces cost.
So, Brent, you mentioned regulation in healthcare and digital health. I think it's a real hurdle that most people don't appreciate. So when you develop any technology, how can the regulator, in your view, believe AI-driven technologies are AI-generated data as opposed to human data? So what's your view on that?
Yeah, great question. So just to give you some context, right? So how do we prove that our kind of magical colony counting thing that is automatic and, all those things that I said, it does it more effectively, but how do we prove it? What we did is we did a 10,000 multi-center patient clinical trial, and we had 10,000 of those little plates reviewed by 3 microbiologists who were blinded to each other, and they put their results into a computer system, and then we ran those same 10,000 plates through our system. And we correlated those results. And it was really interesting because it showed some divergence in colony counting between the manual microbiologists, but we were able to kind of statistically look at how that compared to an automated platform. And so, you kind of think, well, what is that barrier? How do you prove it? It's bloody hard. And it takes millions of dollars. That's how much we spend on this clinical trial. But in the context of you've got to get it right, it makes a big difference to go through that extra validation burden, which is super, super important.
So that you're making a really good point there around comparing human and AI-generated data. And this is not a topic of this panel today, but I think that even the regulator moved along significantly in that area. You may have noticed already that some of the companies, in silico drug development companies that have been designing drugs purely in computers, AI-generated drugs, have already been in phase 2 clinical studies. And it's relevant to the cost of drug development because we're used to spending $1 billion per drug in approved drug in the market. Today, and probably about 15 years plus to develop from preclinical to approval. Today, when you look at a company and you're looking at investing in an AI-driven drug development company, they can take a drug from concept to the clinic, proof of concept, within 18 to 24 months. So the cost of the development and the speed of the development is astonishing. The cost come down and the speed has also gone up. So when you're looking at investments in that space, and I don't know how many of you have interest in life sciences, but I would really recommend to look through all these in silico drug development companies that are going to absolutely revolutionize this entire space. Moving on now, I still want to talk to you, Brent. One more question around, what are your thoughts about how this all will change the sector, the life sciences sector, AI generally, and what companies investors should be looking at when, particularly in your area, diagnostics, but even generally, just digital health or life sciences. What are the companies that you think are going to succeed?
Good question. I won't give it specific company examples, but to your point, I think there's...
LBT Innovations, of course.
Of course, our company, but look, I think back to your point around the drug discovery, that it is massive. This whole generative AI and being able to find patients with chronic diseases quickly and at scale to match them to drug development companies at an early stage is a game changer. And that, to your point, so I'd be looking at companies in this generative AI space specifically for clinical trials. You can kind of Google those terms, have a look at what companies out there kind of doing that. I think that is a super exciting field, and that has the ability to scale really quickly.
Thanks, Brent. Robbie Karp, you're the non-executive director of Rapid Response Revival. Firstly, can you tell us a little bit about RRR? Because that's a really interesting topic within where we are going now with the data, etc. And then more specifically, can you address data within that whole life sciences landscape?
No, sure. Thanks, Maria. Rapid Response Revival is a medical device company. We've developed the world's first portable, personal, low-cost defibrillator. That's it there. This is now the highest selling defibrillator by volume in Australia. So a defibrillator, we still don't know what the real causes of sudden cardiac arrest are. So there needs to be a defibrillator in every building. In this building, the defibrillator is downstairs. And if someone has a sudden cardiac arrest, someone's going to have to run downstairs, go to the concierge, and get the defibrillator, and then apply it. If you're in an office building on the 27th floor, chances are defibrillator's downstairs. So this is a game changer. It's a low-cost, portable defibrillator. It goes anywhere. Now, the interesting thing is that for AI companies, the things that really will make a difference are, I think, there's a few factors. In the first instance, if you have access to really unique, special, otherwise unavailable data, then that becomes really valuable because you can do things with that data that nobody else can do, obviously. And so you can either get that by, special commercial arrangements with research organisations or other organisations. But if you have a device, then that gives you access to the data on the device. Now, with Rapid Response, because this is the highest selling AED on the market in Australia by volume today, we will soon have the largest data set for sudden cardiac arrest incidents. This is an IoT connected device. it gathers data from sudden cardiac arrest events, and that gives us an opportunity to look at the data and do some very interesting analysis on it. We can look at environmental factors, we can look at locations, we can look at all sorts of things that will lead us over time to drill down into the causes of sudden cardiac arrest.
So, Robbie, you collect really valuable population data with your device. I think with all this, the question is, how can we monetize it? And we know we can, because a lot of the companies have been doing it, but what are your plans to monetize your data? Obviously, it will assist in diagnosis and understanding disease. With healthcare being largely government or institutionally funded, how are you going to be able to monetize your data?
All right, there's two parts to the business, I guess you'll say. So one is sales of device. If you want to buy this, it's available on subscription today for $16.50 a month. First year's free. But in terms of the data itself, so this is a global product, so we're already making sales in other parts of the world. It will soon be the largest, we will soon be the largest repository of sudden cardiac arrest event data in the world. And this is just our first product. So we have a roadmap for innovation for more sensors and more data acquisition for all sudden cardiac events around the world. What that will let us do over time is influence things like sudden cardiac arrest protocols. It'll let us do things like influence standards for around sudden cardiac arrest and defibrillators. And over time, we'll be monetizing the data by commercializing the intellectual property around those concepts and the learnings that we gain out of the AI itself.
And I guess this is the data that could easily dovetail into a drug development, AI drug development program.
Without question. So besides our roadmap for innovation for the AI and the device, there'll be a whole lot of complementary products that can work with this. Some of those we will develop ourselves. Some of them will be in partnership with other companies who are developing related products. And through that, the ecosystem around sudden cardiac arrest, which we're now starting to build out, will grow tremendously.
Thanks. So Matt, I would like to return to you a little bit around energy supply. What are going to be the biggest challenges to be able to provide, for your company, but generally to provide and supply sustainable, energy to the sector?
Well, I think that you should never waste a good crisis, and data center demand for AI model training is going to create a crisis for baseload renewable power. And so instead of being depressed and feeling troubled about that, I think the better option is to realise this is a great opportunity for regional Australia, where you can locate advanced AI training centres and co-locate them with this next generation of generation capability. If you look around the US and other markets in the world, you see a trend where these AI training factories don't behave like traditional data centres that you would all be familiar with. They have a model where they are very introspective. Unlike an edge network that's serving Netflix to people late at night, and then when people go to bed, there's not as much demand, and so the demand profile tapers off. These chock-a-block with GPU AI training centres are running all the time, as I mentioned earlier, which means it's less important that they're close to population, which used to be the dependent variable for data centre co-location in the past. What now tends to matter is that they're close to a renewable energy source that allows them to actually keep the thing running. And so this opens up a great opportunity when we think about regions around Australia that have excellent power infrastructure. Maybe they're inside a renewable energy zone, maybe they're in transition from traditional fossil fuel based to renewable energy mix. These locations could be the recipients of very large, by traditional regional Australian standards, very large capital investments. I mean, these data centres cost like plus $1 billion just to build one, right? And we could have multiple of these across lots of regions in Australia. So it's a huge challenge because we're turning off the baseload power we have and we're replacing it with renewables. But on the other hand, if we can find new renewable energy generation capability, then I think it's a huge opportunity. And we're at Solution Energy very big fans of what's happening overseas, where data centers are basically funding first of their kind geothermal plants to create bankability to then support this new generation coming onto the market. And I think there's a great opportunity to do that in Australia, and that's what we're shooting for at Solution Energy.
Yeah, so enormous opportunities in investment in renewable energy, the message is. And of course, energy is a traditional sector, so is real estate, so is infrastructure. How are these how are these industries going to change with AI, Steve?
I probably can't speak to those specific industries, but I think the nature of business actually changes. Like I sort of started off this day asking the question around, what does the actual future startup look like? What does the actual future enterprise look like? How do the functions look like inside companies? And the latest talk by Eric Schmidt, where he's talking about AI agents, which have been talked about for the last sort of 18 months, to me provides a real insight, especially given that there's now software solutions coming out with that. So I think combination of factors is going to happen. I think, across the big tech companies, redundancies are going to still keep taking place. I think a lot more startups are going to be created. A lot of the current software solutions will be commoditized because, just the different low and no code solutions that are coming out make it so much easier to do that. And then at the same time as well, I think that there's a great opportunity for companies, and talking about AI being deflationary, there's a great opportunity for companies to basically upskill their teams and also upskill their outsourcing solutions that they're using to create incredibly productive and efficient companies. So I think the fundamental thesis that I have is that this next wave of companies coming forward is probably one of the best opportunities to get to profitability as fast as possible, and we're likely to see some of the most profitable companies created, profitable companies in history created over the next sort of 5 years.
Brent, in your company, LBT Innovations, where are you going to invest in AI? What are your conscious, well-considered investments are going to be in AI?
Yeah, so at the moment, it's important for our customers that our AI product is autonomous decision-making on the instrument itself. So we've got a hardware platform with a built-in AI element to it. Where we'll move the technology is the AI piece will move up into a cloud and start utilising the data that comes out of all of our assessments that are done through microbiology labs in both the infectious diseases space, but also in the pharmaceutical manufacturing environment. So we'll reposition what's a necessity at the moment to have it on board on the instrument to start repurposing the data associated with that in a more convenient way where we can to be able to access it in the cloud.
Robbie, in your view, you've got a background in commercializing software generally, so you've got a broader picture than perhaps just a medical technology. Where do you see the winners in the AI space in the next 5 years?
So they're going to be the ones that are leveraging some very unique software technology solutions. So things like secure aggregation and federated learning are quite important at the moment. Ways to do AI on the edge, so that's actually very interesting about doing the AI on the device. I think that's really an important game changer. And I think the intersection of different industries, so AI unto itself, I think we've all sort of said the same thing, is part of something else. So in some cases, yes, an overlay. And I think that's all right because, the companies can, migrate into AI areas. But if you find good intersections of different industries, and so in my case, it's more to do with healthcare and AI, those are the places that will really be taking off and finding very new ways of doing things. What you said about the reduction of time from years to months is look, I didn't know that. That's fascinating. And that's exactly the sort of thing.
Thank you. Well, I can see that we're running out of time, so I'm going to close the discussion by saying that the one thing that we seem to agree on, that AI is creating an environment of rapid change and evolution. And then the survivors will be those that can adapt, plus those that can actually deliver value to corporates and enterprises. And I think to that end, investing in AI companies is not different to investing in traditional industries where we solve real problems for real people and hope that we embed ourselves into our customers' lives forever. So with that, thank you very much. And please thank our panel, Matt, Robbie, Brent, and Steve.